Hey, Coach Kevin here. Back at you with another whiteboard video on shoulder stability. This is the third phase of a three-phase progression, and it's important to make sure that you're doing all three phases and learning them, progressing into this. Great for anyone who's a thrower, anyone who's a swimmer, and they have that constant rotation that can aggravate their shoulders. So athletes who are aged 13 and up, and high school and adult athletes who train at a really high intensity are going to be able to do this phase and do the exercises in this phase without overtraining. So make sure you prepare yourself properly, because when I talk about high intensity, having a swimming background, I'm talking 2-a-day practices pretty regularly, only taking 2 or 3 weeks off during my off season and just keeping that training up. So make sure that you're only doing this phase if you're one of those type of athletes. And we have links below that cover the other two phases. So a lot of you are going to fall into phase 2, and a lot of the younger athletes or people coming back from rehab are going to fall into phase 1. For phase 3 of the shoulder stability series, you want to make sure that you've done phase 2 and you know that you're ready to progress and challenge yourself a little more. This is typically for athletes aged 13 up or competitive adults. We're going to keep doing a lot of the same exercises and just add in a couple more, and then also use resistance to continue to challenge and progress through them. You're still going to start out with the reverse flies and the 10 arm pull downs. And in this phase, a lot of you are going to start using the pink bands. And so you do those reverse flies, activating those back muscles, and then you go into the pull downs. And then these are going to warm up and open up the fronts of your shoulders. Some of you in this phase may start losing range of motion if you're doing a lot of other training. And so you need to make sure you keep doing these and doing a lot of other stretches. And I have stretches in some of my other videos, so make sure you check out the other videos I have to offer, as well as the Elite Athlete website has some stretches in the workout guides. Because as you get stronger, you have to stretch more to maintain good range of motion throughout your shoulders. Now doing the 20 external rotations, you'll think about that resistance level. You may stand just a little bit farther away, stretching that band a little more, adding an extra pound or two to that resistance. Or you might even bump it up to the pink band and do the resistance level with that. Typically, most varsity level high school athletes and college athletes are going to be able to progress to those pink bands in a pretty quick amount of time. You're still going to make sure you use all that same technique. That elbow stays directly under your shoulder, rotating that arm out. Quick disclaimer, the whiteboard shows the internal rotations being last, but it is better to do them right after the external rotations. Now we're on to the internal rotations. This is something I see a lot of athletes and trainers start doing, in my opinion, too early. There's a lot of exercises out there like push-ups that do a lot to strengthen that internal rotation, and we need to offset that, right? People are constantly pushing things, people are constantly hunching forward, and so by focusing on that posterior part of your back, that's going to create that better posture and help hold everything in place better. Then once you have a really stable back, then you add in the internal rotations, which is just the opposite of the external rotation. Again, keeping your elbow directly underneath your shoulder, you're going to rotate your hand into the midline of your body and then rotate it back out. And you should have good muscle memory of holding everything stable from that external rotation, making it a lot easier to learn this one and do it correctly right from the beginning. Because internally you're going to be stronger, it's okay to add a little extra resistance. So if you're using the yellow bands, some athletes really like to just double it up and then rotate it in. If you're using the pink band, you just take a little step farther, and that should be plenty of resistance to strengthen that internal movement. Then they're going to do 10 arm angels. This is something a lot of the experienced athletes start rushing through as they become familiar with the technique, because they think they should move their arms quickly. But that's a totally different type of exercise when we're working on speed versus stability. So remind them to keep those movements slow and keep those movements in control. Now, focusing on that top position, You're going to make sure that as those arms come up, you're still able to hold that straight up position, but maybe you want to hold it there for an extra second before you release it. And that's a good way to just add a little bit of extra challenge to it, taking your training to the next level. Then you're going to do 20 internal A's. And in phase 3, this is where you might want to step back a little bit farther. And again, when you make that contraction of your muscles, hold it for a second and then release it to just give you a little bit more of a challenge and create better results from it. And then once you're able to easily do that and you progress up to the pink bands, you can just get rid of that extra second hold at first until you get used to that higher resistance and then progress into holding it for that extra second again. Combining hundreds of throws a week with strength or stability exercises using a hand grip can cause overtraining issues. Elite athlete kits come with ankle and wrist straps, allowing athletes to take stress off of the hand and wrists, just like other baseball-specific bands. This reduces the risk of injury when throwers are combining exercises with challenging practices on the field or in the cage. The next exercise is new for this phase. And this is an exercise that's inspired by the face pulls, but it's done in a way that's going to put a little bit less stress on that rotator cuff, creating a less likely scenario for impingement while working out similar muscles, creating that same effect of pulling those shoulders back and giving you better stability. For this one, when you first start, you're probably going to want zero resistance as you pull those elbows back into a wide row. So the elbows come out at about a 45-degree angle from your shoulders as they pull back. And then once they pull back, you're going to add a rotation, bringing them up, and your hands are going to be at about shoulder height. And that's going to make that W shape. So you rotate them up, rotate them down, bring them back forward. And you don't need to do a lot of these to get good results. If you just hold it for an extra second, again, that's another way to challenge yourself a little bit more as you progress through it. Now, when you jump up to pink bands, you're probably going to want to have loose tension at that first half of it right away, because being one of the harder exercises, this is one where if you're not careful, it can be overtrained and potentially get some tendonitis from it if you're not careful. So stick with a nice, slow, easy progression going into those pink bands. Now back to the TYIs. We're going to do these 10 for each position. So you do 10 T shapes, 10 Y shapes, 10 I shapes. And that's going to fatigue that muscle a little bit more as you go through each rep and challenge them a little bit more, creating more stability throughout those shoulders. And again, this is another good one where if you hold it for that extra second, you're going to be able to get even more results from it, taking that stability to the next level. Training at the level that would have you in phase 3, you absolutely should be adding other exercises into your main sets that strengthen the large muscle groups around your shoulder, giving you even more stability, holding everything in place. So for instance, you want to make sure that you've got some vertical motions, working out the tops of those shoulders. You want some pulling motions, working out underneath your shoulders with your lats, as well as push and pull motions. And by strengthening all those different movement patterns, it's going to create a whole nother level of shoulder stability, allowing you to push your body to the extremes without that shoulder moving around too much, creating impingement issues or getting tendonitis. And that's part of why I really like the Elite Athlete kits. They give you all the different bands and accessories that you need to do all those exercises. There's a lot of bands out there that are good for certain exercises, but they're just not versatile enough to use them for all the exercises. And then you need to get different equipment to do different things. Whereby having a small kit that you can easily travel with you makes it easy to just go out to a baseball field, go out to a park somewhere, or maybe just inside your house or at a hotel, and just get through all your normal exercises, keeping your training up. Because it's a loop, it can easily go in your hand, it can go around your foot, it can attach to other secure objects. instead of just having a clip where then you're very limited on the different types of exercises you can do. You can even double them up and shorten that distance for different types of exercises. So they work great for the shoulder stability stuff, but then they can also be great for a lot of other exercises too. So get your Elite Athlete Power Band kit today and receive 10% off plus an additional padded ankle and wrist strap using the promo code STABILITY10 at checkout in the link below. Elite Athlete also has discounts for teams and sponsorship opportunities. So make sure you check out the website. You can look through some of the workout guides and get links to other videos, as well as contact them if you're a coach about potentially having a sponsorship and getting discounts for your team. As always, be strong and be elite.